After the brutal heat of Hamilton Island, Australia, Super League Triathlon has crossed the globe to just off the coast of France, and we've doubled in size. Our men are back, they know what's coming, and they have scores to settle. And here we'll crown our new queen with 25 of the best women in the world taking on Super League for the very first time. 4 races, 50 athletes, Olympic medalists, world champions, Ironmen and women. It doesn't get much better than this. This is Jersey. This is Super League. We're back.
What is Super League?
Fast.
Painful, tactical.
Action-packed. This is Super League.
Et c'est magnifique.
Hello, I'm Will McCloy, and alongside me, 2 of the greats of triathlon, Emma Snowsill and Chris McCormack. And Macca, Super League Hamilton Island was great. This is a bigger and better challenge.
Well, I think we all agree Super League Hamilton Island exceeded all our expectations, and now here on Jersey, it's going to be absolutely marvellous. An epic course to have a look at.
Twice as much talent, Emma. We've got 25 of the best women in the world as well. It's a deep field.
Strongest women's field we've seen assembled since Rio. These women are going to put on a true show for us as well, so very exciting to see what they can produce.
And we get to stand on top of a castle. That's not too bad either. Let's find out a little bit now about what Super League is all about. Swim, bike, run. That's triathlon, and that's all it has ever been until now. Brutal, tactical, explosive. Super League Triathlon takes every traditional element, douses it with rocket fuel, and welcomes each willing athlete into the furnace. The series debut at Hamilton Island in Australia took the established triathlon order and threw it straight out of the window.
It's Alistair Brownlee who's missing from this front group of runners. He's been shelled. He found that bike ride very, very difficult.
Yeah, really struggled through that. Just my legs just don't want to go. Hopefully I'll get better as the races go on.
Some struggled, whilst others shone. Why? Well, it's much shorter for a start. 300 metres in the water, 6 kilometres on the bike, and a 2-kilometre run. Each stage cutting 80% or more from the Olympic distance.
It's short, it's hard, it's aggressive racing. It rewards those athletes that take chances. If you're not ready, you're gone.
Then there's the tactics. Today's triple mix switches up the traditional order. Swim, bike, run. Yeah, there's that. But there's also run, bike, swim and bike, swim, run. Anyone can shine and anyone can fall.
Oh, we've had a huge accident there. Who is that in the red helmet?
That's Ben Shaw.
What a day for Ben Shaw.
Tomorrow it's the eliminator and the tactics change again. It's 3 races of swim, bike, run with 10 minutes break in between. Only this time, the tail enders are cut at each stage finish. Earn yourself a place in stage 3 with the rest of the top 10 and you're in with a shot.
There's no difference between winning this event and finishing 15th.
He was counting them.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Super League takes the best of triathlon, breaks it down and rebuilds it with one sole purpose: to be the true test for the multi-sport athlete. Body, mind and pure grit, with a series lead and a very big check on the line. That was Hamilton Island, and it's all behind us now as we move on to round 1 proper. 50 men and women are going to take on what is an incredibly technical course. Alongside me, Macca, as he was before on top of that castle, which was fun. Alistair Brownlee, dual Olympic gold medalist, and Vicky Holland, also with an Olympic medal, if you don't mind. Plenty of talent here. Macca, we'll start with you. You must be excited.
Very, very excited. It's been 6 months since Hamilton Island, Jersey. A remarkable place, a beautiful venue. Very, very excited about the action getting underway.
You guys don't get to race, but Ali, I know you've had a little swim this morning. Your hips obviously giving you trouble, but you got out there amongst the boats. How was it?
I'd love to be racing, but I managed to get in the water this morning as part of the corporate relay, which was a bit of fun. I think it's a great swim course. The water isn't too cold, it's pretty tight. You've got to avoid the boats on the way around, and I think everyone will love it.
Another island, another place with a lot of super yachts. I like that. You pick good spots for us to do this. But Vicky, you were going to see your course walk in a second. What do you think of the course? It's a technical one, a little different to Hamilton.
Yeah, a really technical bike course, 7 corners or U-turns each lap, 5 laps. That's 35 corners for each stage of the triple mix today. A lot of surging, and that's really going to hurt the legs.
All right, we're going to see each of you guys out. Ali, you'll be in commentary, and Vicky, you'll be down in transition, which is going to be incredibly exciting for you. We'll be stuck up here in the commentary box in the studio, but still plenty to look forward to, and we're going to take you through absolutely everything step by step, so you don't miss a minute of the action. Right now, we're going to have a look back at exactly what happened in Hamilton Island. There was plenty of pain and plenty of elation too.
It was something never seen before. The most watched triathlon in history, and Super League Hamilton Island in the heart of Australia's Great Barrier Reef did not disappoint. First up came the triple mix, 3 stages, 3 different orders. The first to suffer, Olympic champion Alistair Brownlee, who was in for a tough weekend. Tasmanian Jake Birtwistle took stage 1, and he would lead as stage 2 got underway. But with the swim last, no one could catch superfish Richard Varga.
It looks as though Richard Varga is going to do the job. In stage 2 of the triple mix, Richard Varga wins a race.
Varga dominated the swim again in stage 3, but there were plenty chasing. Ryan Bailey did manage to run him down, but Richard Murray was too strong for them all.
Big smiles across the South African's face. The veteran has done it here in stage 3, and he's very happy about it as well.
After 12 hours rest, it was on to the Equalizer. A 6-kilometre morning time trial with a maximum gradient of 24%. Ouch. Colorado native Cameron Dye posted the early mark. However, he was upstaged by some local wildlife. Dye led the field into the afternoon's pursuit-style swim-run and swim-bike run. But it was Birtwistle first out of the water, and he was soon caught by Murray and Spanish superstars Javier Gomez and Mario Mola, with Murray waiting until the final run to kick into gear.
A big crowd very happy to see Richard Murray do it once again. He's going to lift the tape. Richard Murray is the winner of our Equalizer.
That left Richard Murray 9 points clear coming into day 3's eliminator of 3 swim, bike, run stages. It was keep up or go home, and the pressure told.
Oh, there's your first crash.
One already. Ben Shaw is down.
Christian Blumenfeld took the first stage, with Dye among 9 names to be eliminated. That left 15 back in the water for stage 2, with all the big names making it safely through for the final shootout. Ryan Fisher opened up a huge lead coming into the final run, with Murray, Birtwistle and Mola running him down, and it was the Aussie who kicked for home.
He's left the world champion for dead. Jacob Birtwistle wins the eliminator in a huge run. Richard Murray is going to do the job and go home with $100,000.
So it was Richard Murray who finished Super League Hamilton Island as champion, $100,000 richer, and with a points lead to defend here at Super League Jersey.
What a great weekend it was, and we're about to do it all again. A lovely shot there of Elizabeth's Castle as Jersey has turned on such a beautiful day. A lot to expect for the UK in September, but there you go. Here's the weekend schedule. Up next, of course, the men's triple mix, the same as on Friday at Hamilton. And then the women, for the first ever time, will be taking on Super League with their triple mix at 4 p.m. British summertime. And then on Sunday, that is tomorrow, of course, we switch the order. The women's eliminator and then the men's eliminator, and then we crown our champion from round 1 in Jersey. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for that. A huge amount of action, 8 hours live on air. We'll take you through all of it right now. Let's have a look at the course maps as well. This is a very interesting course, a very technical one as well. Let's start with the swim. We go 130 out to the buoy amongst the super yachts we talked about, and then 2 tight turns, but it's a unique one.
And relatively cool the water, about 17 degrees, so that'll be something the athletes have to look at. 2 left-hand turns, the last one being quite tight indeed.
We've got a very narrow run up into transition. There's probably 1, maybe 2 wide, so hopefully no slow runners there to get stuck behind someone. And then we move into what is, as Vicky said, quite a tough and technical off-camber, different surfaces as well on the bike and the run.
7 turns, they've come out of transition. The first turn's quite tight and small, but then they open up on this sharp left-hander at the top here. That's probably the fastest section of the bike course. Off camber turn there, all cobblestone, so could be treacherous.
It really sort of favours the explosive rider, isn't it? Because there's a lot of tight turns, as you say, and then got to take off quick.
7 turns per lap, that's 35 turns for the total bike course.
All right, and it might be flat, but it's going to be very, very difficult. The run is the same as the bike, so great for spectators here, and we're expecting a whole lot as Jersey. They love their sport.
And the first part of this run's a slight uphill, so it allows the back section of the run will be slightly downhill. It'll be interesting to see how this run unfolds. Same, as you said, same run course as the bike course, but a straight shot to the finish.
Yeah, 5 laps on the bike, 2 laps on the run, and of course all different orders. Now Vicky was up here with us and is now down on the course. She's got a little course walk for us to give us some first-hand look at it all.
This is the swim exit ramp. They come out of the swim straight up this ramp. It's long, it's narrow, there's only maybe 2 athletes wide that can fit up here, and on top of that we've got rungs on the left-hand side. This could also get really slippy when it's wet. This is the first swim turn. We're 130 metres from the start pontoon, and the athletes will arrive at this point within 1 minute and 30 seconds of the start. They'll then have to negotiate a sharper than 90-degree turn, and they will be jostling for positions here. Expect it to get messy. So not only is this the swim exit ramp, it also acts as the entry ramp on 2 stages of the triple mix. The gradient is going to really play a factor here. It's so steep, the athletes are going to come flying down here, and they're going to have to show some caution. This is the first corner of the bike course where the athletes will come to when they're carrying any kind of speed at all. The angle of this corner is greater than 90 degrees. They're going to be changing road surfaces and have to be very mindful of the fact that athletes may be coming in the other direction, so they can't go over the midsection of the road. This is potentially the most dangerous corner on the bike course. The athletes will come down this downhill gradient, round this sharp 90-degree corner. They'll have to negotiate a change of road surface. Even though this bollard won't be here on the day, this drain cover will, and drama could happen right here.
Drain covers, tight corners, the athletes are ready, the weather is perfect, the course is brutal, but the format, Macca, is certainly one of the stars of the show. We had the triple mix in Hamilton and we have it right again here. First up, the men have done this before, but the women for the first time. 3 stages, swim, bike, run, then run, bike, swim, then bike, swim, run. So there's plenty to think about. 10 minutes in between each one. Now in Hamilton, everyone started each stage at the same time, but this time it's a pursuit.
It's a pursuit format at the end now, so we're going to see the winner of the stage 3 will be actual winner of the race. So it'll be a very, very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, people are going to be stuck there waiting and watching people disappear from in front of them. If anyone falls 90 seconds or more behind, they are eliminated from the triple mix. The same will be said for the eliminator tomorrow. Now, it's time to look at the men to watch. I know you're going to give us some tips in just a second, but let's have a look now at some of the big names. There is a huge amount of talent in this men's field, as there is in the women's field. We'll get to that later on, as I said. But it's hard. We were discussing this just before, having a bit of lunch, discussing who we think is going to win, and I actually have no idea. What do you think?
Well, I think Mola is going to be very, very difficult to beat here. He looks very, very relaxed. He's come off a spectacular year, defended his world championship. Look for him to be very, very strong. Jonathan Brownlee, he really wants to avenge the race that his brother had on Hamilton Island. He showed some late season form, had a quiet year. But Christian Blumenfeld in particular, the Norwegian, he was very, very good in Hamilton Island. At late, he's been spectacular form. He's very, very strong, and this type of course will suit him a lot.
He hates coming second, and he's come second in the last 3 WTS races.
Yeah, and they just look in good form. Richard Murray, not so much, but I'm happy to be surprised.
All right, well, Richard Murray, of course, is our champion. We're going to keep, as we're seeing a few more of the heli shots here, the athletes getting ready.
It's amazing. It's finally here. The anxiety in the hotel's been very, very hot, but it's showtime.
It certainly is showtime. Obviously, Richard Varga would have run the triple mix had he been in a pursuit style. As we now see the guys line up. The slot draw was an interesting one too, wasn't it?
It always is the slot draw for Super League Triathlon. The athletes get to draw their competitors out of the field and out of a hat and position where they're going to be on the start line. And in this race in particular, slot position number 1 is the most beneficial start position.
All right, we're going to have a look now at how some of the start draw worked out. We made the men choose each other's positions on the pontoon, so there was plenty of rivalries.
That red will cause, I think, 100%. You will hit 100% up that range.
Right, big me out. Oh, yes! Who is it? Jonathan. Come on. 3.
Jake Birtwistle picked himself, but there were a lot of people who were not too kind on each other.
Well, that always seems to be the case. We're hoping there'll be a lot of people who are a lot more evil with each other and put people in bad positions. But Jake, being the guy he is, he's pulled out number 1, put himself in the best start position.
Probably going to get you about a body length if you're at number 1 on the pontoon or at the far end, as we see on the shot right now, versus the other end, and that's a lot.
Yeah, 1.7 metres difference between that first turning can, which is the most important turning can in the swim course, between slot number 1, where Jake Birtwistle is, and the 25th start position.
Also important to be, next to someone who's quick.
Oh, without question, to set your whole race up.
A lovely wide shot there, as we can see the crowds certainly building, and we knew they'd turn out, and the weather's turned on too.
Oh, it's fantastic. When we planned this course, we had to set up a completely new fan zone, which is at the northern end of the course, up near that sharp left-hand turn on the bike course. They're expecting 6,000 to 7,000 people down here in Jersey today.
Which is what, 10% of the population?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the start list right now. Jake Birtwistle, as we said, in number 1. Tyler Mislachuk, who's been a little bit ill, alongside Jonathan Brownlee. Daniel Hawksworth, our wild card from right here in Jersey. He's a very nervous man. Richard Varga, the superfish, look for him on the swim. Henry Schumann as well, also very, very, very strong in the water. And Ben Dykstra, who is only 18, doing his A-levels this year and fitting this in, as we see Christian Blumenfeld in number 12 position alongside Dmitry Polyansky, another great swimmer from Russia. Richard Murray, our champion, and Mario Mola, the world champion, are next to each other in 15 and 16. We move further down the order. Ryan Fisher from Australia is having a very strong season in 70.3 racing. Fernando Alatha and Ryan Sissons there in the 20th position. As we round it out with a couple of Aussies there, Ryan Bailey, Matt Hauser and Aaron Royal. Matt Hauser, the junior world champ. Igor Polyansky and Andreas Schilling, who was the first man called out and therefore got number 25, the furthest one from the boy on the running order. It's going to be fantastic, isn't it?
But if anyone can come for that position and go well, it's Andreas Schilling. Very, very good swimmer, very, very good biker.
Fantastic days. We can see a lovely shot from up high there of Elizabeth Bay Marina. We're about to get into the action. It's going to be a fantastic one. The stage is set for the triple mix. 6 months wait, and here it is.
Thanks, Will. We've got the weather, as you say. We've certainly got the star-studded field. And alongside me, we've got 2 people who want everything there is to win in this sport. Olympic champion, triple world champion and Commonwealth Games champion, Emma Snowsill, the double world and Olympic champion, Alistair Brownlee. I'm going to come to you first, Ali. Richard Murray won on Hamilton Island. Conditions different to today. It looks nearly impossible to call a winner, and that's exactly how we like it.
Absolutely, I know even I might be a bit biased, but it's really, really difficult to call the winner here. Not only has everyone's form been up and down all year, post-Olympic year, you know, we haven't seen any consistency really from many of the athletes, and this is a completely different format. So, you know, the World Series final in Rotterdam last week, all these guys raced, but this is a completely different race, so really hard to predict anything.
Any fancies, Emma?
Look, I think, you know, it's exactly, we're in a totally new format. Some athletes have raced the World Series, some have taken a little breaks, and you're going to have fatigue, which is something we didn't probably have in Hamilton Island.
Let's quickly go to Vicky Holler down on course, our course reporter. Tension building, Vicky, no doubt, just seconds before the start.
Yeah, that's right. We're down here on the pontoon. All the athletes getting ready to go. We've got Jacob Birtwistle drew himself at slot 1. We've got Mario and Richard at 15 and 16. And then as we go to the end, we've got Andreas Schilling, who was unfortunately given spot 25. Got a little bit further to swim, but maybe he can stay out of trouble wide on the outside.
Heading set then, 24 of them. Tyler Mislachuk not in this field. He is out ill, unfortunately, but we still have a massive amount of talent. Richard Murray defending the title that he won on Hamilton Island way back in March. Will it be easier or harder to defend it than it was to win it? We'll find out over the course of the next 2 days. 3 stages, remember, today for the men. Then the eliminator tomorrow. Away they go. It's a reasonably clean start. There are time penalties. All kinds of penalties for the full start of the swim. You have to start last after that. You're relegated to last position. It's 130 metres to the swim, boy. Ali, you must have been pretty pleased with your brother's position. He got 3 thanks to Alessandro Fabian's generosity, I guess you would say. That's a pretty good start position for John.
Yeah, to be honest, it's an age-old argument whether you want to be inside or outside. It depends on the kind of swimmer you are. And we can see the 2 guys on the inside there, Bert Whistle and Johnny, kind of next to each other, swimming really well. And I actually can't see Richard Varga coming at the front yet, which is an interesting one. But yeah, it's an argument. Johnny's got the inside line, but to be honest, I don't agree with what the guys were saying earlier. I agree that you know, if you're a good swimmer, you want clean water on the outside, and even if it is a metre further, I've taken that gamble loads of times in my career.
Yeah, it certainly sometimes can pay off, you know, exactly like you said, Alistair, just to have that clear water, to be able to swim your own pace and not have anybody sitting on your hips, sitting on your feet and just dragging you down, and you know, that advantage so-called at the start pontoon, yes, okay, maybe slightly, the shortest line, but at the end of the day, you know, that will come undone when you round that can.
Do you have to be a good drawn with 25 like that? This is Shane Poliansky, Baton, and also those last 2 good swimmers. Are you going to be brave enough to try and cut across, or just accept you're going to have to swim a bit further than those drawn inside?
Well, you can't really predict what's going to happen. You know, if a couple of guys, 3 or 4 people to your left in this case, have a slow start, you can probably get across pretty easily. Or if you're really fast, like Varga's case, is the best place to be, and it's far better than having someone on your hip or having to change your course. So it's not necessarily about brave. You know, so many things about triathlon, people put contact with and decisions, but you only know what's going to go on in the race circumstances. You've got no chance of judging. We see this is Bert Whistle and Johnny Taylor, the 2 inside, the 1-2, nipping there. I would imagine Bert Whistle went out really hard that first 150, he came for the 50. And Johnny to start leading around this next point, actually.
Well, Bert Whistle, who's had a really good season, he did have to pull out the grand final after the swim. He was ill, but in general, he's been performing pretty well. And Johnny Brownlee also. It's been a kind of an up and down season for Johnny, Alistair, with injuries and illness. Where is he in terms of race fitness?
He's had a tough year. You know, not only is it a post-Olympic year where we both committed a lot of time to things away from training last winter, both to have a rest and other reasons, but he's just been unlucky. He's had injuries, he's had illnesses, and it's just been one of those years that's been bitty and tough for him. But he's leading this swim now. He's unfortunately got Bert Whistle right on his hip, which is slowing him down. You know, tactically they should be at least swimming apart to spread this race out as quick as they possibly can, rather than slowing each other down and making it easier for people behind them. But that is the tactics of triathlon.
I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, do you speak to each other even though you're not racing? I mean, when you know you're both well known for working together in this sort of circumstance, but do you think you would have spoken to Jake and say, look, you know, if we do have this position, are we going to try and work together, or you just think that you know your brother well and he wants to do his own race?
Yeah, I mean, he wants to do his own race. He wouldn't ask for my advice too much, I don't think. He's too close to me. And he won't have spoken to Jake. You know, like I was just talking about before, it's almost impossible to call exactly what's going to go on, especially in such a short race. It should just be understood that if you're next to each other like that, you don't want to be on each other's hips, because you're slowing each other down. You're making it easy for the Richard Murrays and Mario Molas behind you. And it'll be interesting to see how much it splits up this very, very steep incline up to transition now, and so many people close, all falling over on each other.
João Pereira took a bit of a tumble. They found it hard to get out the water, so up the ramp they go. Bert Whistle and Brownlee were the first 2 out. There's Johnny.
Yeah, really good swim for Johnny and Bert Whistle. Henry Schumann next, Ryan, Barnett, Hauser, Poliansky, Ben Knutso and Royal. So, you know, some really strong bikers. Richard Varga back there in 5th or 6th, so he's struggled there a bit on that swim.
That's not a place we've ever really seen him, is it?
We don't see that very much.
I mean, you know him well. Is the temperature of the water, obviously it's still a short swim, but it is cool to not be wearing a wetsuit.
It is cold not to be wearing a wetsuit. 3.5 minutes, I think, you know, you're probably going to be okay. I don't think that's the reason. I imagine someone dived in on top of him in the start of the swim, and we didn't see him there from the start, which is one of the interesting things. You know, normally within 3 or 4 strokes, I swim next to him 1,000 times and I can't get anywhere close to him. So he's so quick over those first few strokes.
Well, already under pressure, some big names. Mola and Murray and Blumenfeld, all with plenty in front of them as they head off on the bike. It's 5K, so 5 laps of a 1 kilometre course as we are head on with Brownlee, a swimmer who always swims very consistently, but you can see already how narrow it is, and that's going to make it tricky for those at the back, including the likes of Mola and Murray.
Yeah, really tricky for the guys who aren't in the front 4 or 5. You know, hopefully we see them really commit, and I know Johnny will be absolutely committing to this first 2 or 3K and then sit up and maybe see what's going on. If some of those guys are on the red line from the swim, getting out of the water and on the first part of the bike, he's just going to hurt them at these corners, which, you know, we can see he's just committing 100% now, what he needs to do. And even if Mola and Murray are only 5 seconds back at this point, he's going to be putting them under pressure and making them work for it.
How tricky is it, Emma, in terms of, you can't go full gas, surely, can you, in the first stage? Because if you've got to win this thing, there are 6 different stages.
No, I truly think that that's what they need to do. I think, you know, they need to put the pressure on early, and people like Johnny, who are so accustomed to just, you know, the minute the gun goes, he puts everything out there, whether it's an Olympic distance event or whether it's this. And it's exactly like we said, you know, they have to put, with the rest, let's put it this way, you know, they have to put the hurt into them now. I mean, of course the races are broken up and they have this so-called 10-minute break, but that really doesn't count for much. So he just wants to build lactate. He wants to hurt these other athletes as soon as he can. I mean, he's known for doing it, but I think now is even a better opportunity for him to show that he's a real strength athlete.
Yeah, Johnny will know the harder he can make it from the off. You know, even if he's making himself tired, he's making everyone else tireder. And he's just going for it. We actually saw him there, the motorbike getting in the way. He was yelling at the motorbike, so the motorbike wasn't going fast enough around the corners for him. So he's trying to get that out of the way, and he's just taking it on. I mean, no one else has come to the front yet, and we might not need anyone actually on the course this tight. It's going to be interesting to see. And there's already guys, you know, Cajales could be out the race now.
Well, there is a rule, 90-second rule. If you're 90 seconds behind at any stage, you are taken out the race and not as at the stage, and you won't be able to race again today. So no one wants to be there. Richard Murray actually has made up some time. He was 10 seconds adrift out the water. He's halved that deficit, so good work from the South African.
Yeah, Richard Murray's on the back of that group of 2, 4, 6 man there, so the front group. And yeah, he's very good, traditionally very good out the water on that first lap. Technically a great bike rider as well, so this course will suit him. And he's made it technically, and I think that, I'm not sure who's out in the front, but someone else pushing it, I think could well be Canute possibly. He's a great bike rider as well, but Johnny knows technically he's good and very clinical, and will be pushing, not only to make it hard, but trying to force mistakes out of some of the other guys here.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, would Johnny let somebody that he knows, you know, is not maybe as technically great as he is on the bike, you know, to take any risk on a course like this?
No, if he sees someone who's not as good as him in front of him, he'll be wanting to get around him very quick, you know. One of the big things we say a lot is to win often, and to win on a one-day thing like the Olympic Games, you've got to take everything into your own hands, so you don't want that kind of person in front of you, and these things will be going through his mind. That's definitely Ben Canute there, had a fantastic race a couple of weeks ago in the World 7.3s in Chattanooga. Fantastic bike rider, and has been doing well in the WTS series as well, so Johnny couldn't have a better person there riding with him.
Yeah, he was second to Javier Gomez in that 70.3 World Championship, and we've also seen him in the past race really well in the short format in the World Mixed Team Relay for the United States.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the interesting things about the Mixed Team Relay and this format is, although we talk about it being short and fast, actually it's sometimes a much better test of an all-round triathlete than Olympic distance, because people get exposed. You know, we see people who might not have a great swim or a bike get exposed because, you know, not only are people going full on, but it splits up. You know, people have to swim on their own sometimes, people have to ride on their own, and when that happens, you know, people gaps open, and people might have to ride 5 or 6K on their own, and suddenly if you're not a good bike rider, it shows.
Decent crowds. We reckon 6,000 to 7,000 lining the course. We reckon also around about 3,000 or 4,000 have actually flown in for this event from either, well, predominantly Great Britain, but also from France as well, where the sport is extremely popular with all the club events that they have there.
Yeah, we're very close, very ride away from Brittany, and anyone who's done triathlon for a long time knows that Brittany's a real heartland of triathlon with French Grand Prix races and World Cups and all sorts over the years, so it couldn't be a better place for a race, I don't think.
Do you think that the Europeans have some sort of advantages? I mean, you have, like you said, the French Grand Prix, the German Bundesliga. I mean, do these play into the hands of athletes that race these sort of conditions before, these sorts of styles?
Yeah, I think, Europeans are possibly a bit more used to racing. I think we're a bit more used to different formats. And I think there's just more of a culture of swimming, cycling, running different things. A lot of us have grown up doing bike races, did a lot of cyclocross races, crit races, so we've just got that background in different types of racing that I think is good. We're actually seeing most of it kind of come back together now. There's not massive gaps anymore, but the interesting thing is how much damage it's doing on some of these guys who are just kind of hanging off the back as the elastic is stretching and they just make it back on.
Well, there's parts of this course that the allure of seeing the group just there. I mean, obviously it motivates you to try and tack onto that group in front of you, but it's like you said, at what expense does that come?
Yeah, so on the front of that second pack there, there's Christian Blumenfeld and Schilling. They're both great bike riders, technically good, and the kind of riders that are aggressive are going to take it on. So they're effectively bringing it back to this front group. With Johnny's the only one who's done pretty much anything.
Yeah, there's a group of around about 9 within 2 seconds of each other. Brownlee, Birtwhistle, Royalhauser, Canute, Murray, Schumann and Fisher and Bailey, the 2 Aussies, have got on the end of that leading group as well.
Yeah, I think Johnny's just sat up there and thought, right, like I said, he's done the first 2 or 3K and thought, I've pushed it, pulled it out, see what's going to happen. There's no point doing it for the whole race and set up, and that's why we're seeing someone else on the front, and that's actually Aaron Royal and Hauser and then Birtwhistle and Johnny just behind him, so he'll be very comfortable riding behind Aaron Royal. Trains with him a lot and knows he's a very technically decent bike rider.
I'll just ask you about Henry Schumann, Ali, because he's in that leading group. Obviously he had a phenomenal Olympics, he won the dramatic grand final where you and your brother were centre stage as well, but this season hasn't quite gone as well as he would have wanted. Is that kind of like post-Olympic syndrome to a degree?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a post-Olympic effect, and we'll talk about this as well. You spend so much time focusing on that event, and rightly so. It really is the highlight of the triathlon calendar, and that's all I've ever really wanted to do in my career. But there's got to be a flip side to that as well, and I think you do quite often see that. You realise you've raced the same World Series races for 8, 9, 10 years, and there is just a kind of a psychological effect to that. But I think he had a good year last year, but his tactics were spot on. He did the right thing. He knew, right, my only way of getting a result is swimming in the front pack, sitting at the back of the bike pack and hoping no one notices, and then I'll run all right. And I think some of the other guys have got a bit wise to it. I think he's tried to move his running on, and it's cost his swimming. We haven't seen him swim as well, and it's just getting that balance right. It's the constant struggle that every triathlete is trying to deal with, really.
Johnny was back at the front there momentarily.
Yeah, he's pushing it on here. I think this is a bit of a rise on the course out of that roundabout, and every time he's working out of there, so he knows he's going to be hurting the people who are coming out that corner a metre or 2 gaps on all the bike and pushing it hard, as well as the fact the motorbike isn't too far in front of him, which always gives a bit of an advantage.
Well, also, I mean, there's starting to be a significant distance first to last, and if you're towards the rear of the field, you've got to be a bit concerned, even though it's early stages in this day.
It's an elastic band, and I mean, the further back you are, the more energy it costs you to keep up with those front runners. You're not braking, and you're braking and accelerating far more at the back than you are at the beginning of that group. And of course, these tactical riders and experienced riders all know that it's small energy conservation. It's very clever on their part, and it's just aggressive racing, and they know what they need to do, where they need to be at every point in this race.
So off the bike stand with just a 2-kilometre run to go in this first stage, first of 3 today, and whoever comes out on top will end up with 25 points to carry into tomorrow when we go into the eliminator. Brown exactly where he wants to be, good swim, good bike.
Yeah, we've seen Matty Hauser, who's first into transition there, although he wasn't on the front of the bike at all, which is a bit cheeky, but first out, so he's a great transition, can kind of relax these first 400 or 500 metres while some of these guys push on. It's going to be interesting to see where Mario Mola is here, just the back of the group. He was the one hanging off, had 5 metre gap for most of that bike ride, so I would have expected to see that's probably hurt him a little bit.
I mean, does someone of his age, I mean, he's come off a junior world title just last weekend, does he go into this thinking, oh, you know what, I've got nothing to lose? Maybe he's not even overthinking it.
Yeah, I think everyone's got to think a bit like that, you know. I think you've got to get in a race and make the decisions on the fly and not worry about it too much beforehand. And yeah, of course, he's got to see how he goes. He's a big lad, you know. These kind of short events should suit him as much as anything else.
Johnny Brownlee up front, sorry, Esther. Johnny Brownlee up front with the imposing figure of Blumenfeld. Richard Murray right there as well. So that's a good recovery from the defending champion after an average swim, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, what Johnny will be trying to do here with the next event coming up is he'll just be trying to expose people. So he knows that if he can get this run group down to 2 or 3 there, when it starts on the pursuit format next time, there's still only 2 or 3 of them, and then he gets only 2 or 3 on the bike and is on the swim with only 2 or 3 of them. You know, he can get people out and take people out of the race.
Well, this is bold from Richard Murray. Gone to the front now from Brownlee and Blumenfeld.
Yeah, these guys are pushing it on. Richard Murray's pushing it on with Blumenfeld there in 3rd, and I just saw on that last corner we saw Mario Mola back in about 10th place, probably the best part of 10 seconds down. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can recover it on this run and then the next run, because we basically have 4K running now with a 10-minute rest in between.
Indeed, and just to remind everyone, the next stage is going to be run, bike, swim. We mix the order around.
And I think what the important part here is that what we haven't seen is the way these guys start. And I think this is what Alistair was probably really trying to explain, is exposing the weaknesses of these other athletes. It's drawing them out, because they are going to have some parts of these next 2 races where they could be on their own. You know, they're starting out on their own. There's no such thing as sitting on it at someone's, you know, wheel as soon as you get onto the bike, or sitting on someone's hip on the swim. So, you know, there's so much going on within this racing, and I think this is just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, the tactics are fascinating. You know, we could hypothesize about the tactics literally all day, and we're never quite going to know what's going through their minds. But yeah, I do know definitely that Johnny will just be trying to break it up and expose athletes' weaknesses. He knows that if Richard Murray is on a swim on his own, you know, he could put 10 seconds into him, and that could, at the end of the day, small margins could be the big result.
Well, these 4 have got themselves a little gap. It's Richard Murray from Brownlee, Blumenfeld and Schoeman. And then a gap back to the chasers. You'll see the exact time as they come past here. This is first lap of 2. So they've got themselves about a 7 or 8 second advantage at the moment.
Yeah, Richard Murray's really pushing it on there, and you know, just starting to get a bit of a gap to those other guys. We see Henry Schumann's definitely lost those front 3 as well, and the race is completely split up already. You know, 20 seconds between the first 15. That's fantastic racing and great to see.
Ben Canute, who was right up there on the bike, just finding the pace a bit too hot to handle on the run. That's young Ben Dykstra from Great Britain, a huge up-and-coming talent.
Yeah, Ben's a fantastic talent, really class runner, English schools champion many times over, which is, you know, a big deal in Britain, and a great swim biker too. He's just got a great racing attitude. He loves it. You can see him out on the race course enjoying it, and he is definitely one to watch over the next few years.
Murray making this a real test. Schoeman finding it a bit hard to go with that leading trio now. Murray, Brownlee and Blumenfeld, and you can see the gap back. Mario Mola just about coming into shot here.
Yeah, this race is actually blown apart already, completely blown apart.
A lot more than I was already expecting.
Yeah, it's been aggressive racing. We didn't actually see Hamilton Island be that aggressive. I mean, it felt aggressive for me, but it wasn't when you saw the fact that 20 guys were coming off the bike together. Whereas this, you know, split straight up, very aggressive. And these guys know that you know, they can make the difference in the early stages of this race.
Well, anyone who thought it was going to be cagey and tactical on the run has been proved completely wrong, because this leading trio have gone away now from Schoeman and the rest, and those at the back are potentially in big trouble here.
Yeah, big gaps, and I think, to be honest, Murray looks like a man possessed here and is pushing hard, but they'll all know that effectively, like I said, this is a 2K run, 10-minute break, 2K run. So they don't want to absolutely go flat out here, because, you know, you can do a lot of damage in 2K. They need to recover, and they need to be ready for that next 2K. And yeah, Burt Whistle, 2 big names, Burt Whistle and Mola back here already. You know, it's going to be tough for them to make that up.
Yeah, Rahala's also suffering. I don't think too many expected the likes of Burt Whistle to be this far off the pace. We've seen how well he's run this year, but Murray, Blumenfeld and Brownlee, that trio, have done serious damage here on stage 1. They've only got a few hundred metres to go, and then they'll be into their first 10-minute rest period ahead of the run, bike, swim leg.
It'll be interesting to see if any of them push it on over these last few hundred metres, just to see if they can get a second advantage. Make that first few hundred metres of the next run that a little bit easier. but now I think they're all pretty close, just taking a slightly different line around the corner there. Sometimes it's a bit tough running on this kind of surface, the brick surface, but obviously they're all managing fine, and I think these guys will just be towing that line now, trying to not push too much, but make sure they're maintaining and growing that gap.
So they're just approaching the finish line then. Murray with a little look back, and he'll see Blumenfeld-Brenly right there on his heels.
He does a lot of looking back. Well, he has been doing a lot of looking back. I'm not entirely sure what he's looking for, because you'll be able to hear how close they are, and there's so many corners you can look back. I think these guys will be, not going max out here, but will be trying to make sure they finish as close to each other as possible. There's obviously no advantage in winning this stage at all, but you don't want to give anyone even a 2 second lead. So yeah, there you go. Murray's done exactly the right thing there, eased off and let someone else win the battle, but maybe lose the war. We'll see.
Okay, well, we will do very shortly. Schoeman comes in fourth. We'll just check exactly what that gap is. 11 seconds. A bit of a sprint on for Mario Mola's got him within 15, but still significant, along with Jay Birtwistle. Matt Hauser, 18 seconds adrift. Aaron Royal, similarly. And you go further down, you can just see how this field has been ripped apart. Ryan Bailey is a pretty tiny runner in his own right. It's nearly half a minute adrift.
Yeah, absolutely been ripped apart, and I think that was all down to the aggressive racing of the guys at the start of the bike there. That's all that happened. So fantastic to see that. This is what we want to see in triathlon. We want to see people race over the swim, bike and run. It's three sports, and now you've got to remember that they're starting another 2K run, which gives a chance to absolutely blow apart again in only 10 minutes time.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing, isn't it, to see what happens at the start of that run, whether the same trio can keep laying it down to the opposition. You think they're going to certainly try. Grajales coming in, these guys really suffering.
And Ben Shaw there, yeah, I'm not sure how far they're back now, but I know there is a 90 seconds exclusion limit, so if you go over 90 seconds in any of the races, you're effectively out to make sure that there's no lapping going on, because obviously you can't have lapping on such a short course.
Ryan Sissons is 48 seconds back, Dimitri Poliansky similar, Richard Varga 55 seconds back, and Igor Poliansky nearly a minute.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be tough for some of those guys to make it through this next second stage, to be honest. Going back to what you're saying about what do they do on this next run now, I think they've got to run just 1%. Dan Hawkes was just crossing the line there from Jersey. Some great local support. I think they've got to run just under 1% under the red line. They've got to push. They don't want to give any time away to those guys behind them. But then they've got to know that there's a bike and a swim that they're going to take pretty hard in the next two disciplines, and they can keep spreading it out.
So this is the start of their 10-minute recovery period. They all had kind of different ideas the best way to use it. Some will take some fluid on board. Some will maybe have one of those energy supplements that they take.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of they were worried about how cold they'd be, and coming out the cold water, and then, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful day here in Jersey, but not necessarily as warm as some people might like it. But I get a feeling they're not looking that cold right now. A lot of them have zipped their suits down and are trying to get air to the bodies. They're just going through their transition checks again, because obviously, your bike has to be in the right gear. You want your shoes in the right place, so you're not going to knock your shoes off your pedals. That could cost you 30 seconds at least, and that's pretty critical. And just getting a bit of hydration in. Hydration and nutrition is reasonably important in this kind of event, but not critical. 3 20-minute races, an hour of racing over the period of about an hour and 20 minutes. Nutrition and hydration is not probably going to be the thing that makes you win or lose here, but just important to keep on top of it with the knowledge that you've got another race coming tomorrow that you want to recover from as well as possible.
Okay, well, let's go and hear now from the reigning world champion. Mario Mola's 14 seconds adrift after that first stage. He's down with Vicky.
Trying to follow the line and stay as close as possible to get in front. But yeah, it was hard.
There's a long way to go yet. The triple mix is only just begun. It's not an insurmountable gap. Do you think you can drop something left?
We'll see. We'll find out. I think still keep going. So that's what I do.
Okay, brilliant. We'll wish you all the best for the next races.
That didn't sound to me the most confident Mario Mola I've ever seen.
No, definitely not. I mean, he didn't look his best there, I have to admit. And yeah, that's going to be pretty tough for him. That time gap now, he knows that the race is spread out. He knows that you could end up isolated and on your own at the back end of the run and on the bike. And that is a tough place for him to come back from.
Let's just check those results then. Blumenfeld, Brownlee and Murray, nothing between them. And there's nearly a quarter of a minute back to Mola and the rest. A fascinating first stage.
Well done, well done, well done. Yes, give it up for him, come on. Round number 2. This is where it starts to get very, very interesting. So we start off with the run on the position, depending on where they finished. Then it's a bike, finish with the swim. This is where the race...
Thank you, Trevor, Emma and Ali. What a call and what a race. We didn't expect there to be this much carnage early on. There were some very broken faces in the recovery zone. We're about to do it all again. Johnny Brownlee, you picked him. He pushed the pace from the beginning.
And you see how important the swim is. He got out very, very early, as Alistair said in the commentary. He set himself up, that run-up transition, an early break on the bike, very, very aggressive, and it was so strung out.
It was so strung out on the second stage, as Ali mentioned. I mean, we've got a 90-second elimination cutoff. We're going to see some people fall foul of that. Certainly, Christian Blumenfeld, how strong is he?
He bridged that gap. He brought that second group up to the first group in the ride. He looked very, very strong. His run's spectacular. Be interesting to see how he goes with the swim now ending this second stage of the triple mix.
Mario Mola, a renowned runner, of course, the world champion, and he was panicked. You could see the panic on his face as he needed to make that gap up on the run. He did manage to do that, but he still finds himself 15 seconds or so back.
He really struggled on that bike ride. He was always at the back, every single corner. He seemed to struggle with those two right-handers at the far end of the bike course, and he paid for it on the run. He was definitely the fastest runner on course. He made a lot of ground up, but those three boys off the front were very, very conservative in the saving for the business end of this race.
Quick thought on Murray. He did it again.
He looked brilliant. He looked brilliant. He's been playing a poker face all week. He looked very, very good today.
All right, there's going to be some serious pain in the second stage of the triple mix. It won't be long until we'll find about all of that. All right, we are about to see the start list for stage 2 of the triple mix, and I'm sure there's a few athletes who will be wishing that there was no stage 2 of the triple mix because they've left it all out there already, and it won't be long until we do see that list. But there is some guys that look excellent and some guys that look like they weren't quite ready for this.
We had that second group on the run. If you had a look, there was Jacob Birtwistle, who seemed to be struggling a little bit. I was expecting a lot more from him. If you remember Hamilton Island, he was very, very good at this format. He didn't look red hot today. Aaron Royal, who's just coming back to form, but that Australian group joined by Schilling and now Mola will be interesting to see how they go with Schoeman sort of in no man's land between that front and second group.
Yeah, it was, and it makes it a lot harder when you're racing a little bit on your own and seeing people disappear in front of you. Let's have a look at the start list as it stands for round 2. Of course, we go in order of how it finished with Blumenfeld so strong, holding off Richard Murray, who's very smart and tactical. Jonathan Brownlee, then 10 seconds. Henry Schoeman will have to wait, and then 14 for Mario Mola. Birtwistle, Schilling, Hauser, Royal, Fabian will all go off very close to each other, which will be handy for them as they try and track down the leaders. A little bit further back, we might, there's a whole bunch of people there who are stuck, and a few people all the way out the back. But we're going to go back to our commentary right now. Trevor Harris alongside Emma Snowsill and Ali Brownlee.
Will. Positions further down the field. Richard Varga, I wouldn't imagine he'd have expected to be a minute back, Ali.
No, I mean, I think it's a tough one for him. We saw from the dive, after 10 strokes, you'd normally expect him to see him a body length clear, and we didn't see that. So I think from those early strokes, maybe he's felt a bit off and a bit of a struggle. Like we've said, it's a tough time of year. You know, it's a long season, starting all the way back in Hamilton Island, encompassing all the W2S Series races, finishing last week in Rotterdam, and then to be here. So, you know, some of these guys, it might be a bit unpredictable if you're having a good or a bad day.
So what do you think the tactics are going to be now from Blumenfeld, Murray and your little brother? What are they going to try and do first off on the run?
Well, I keep saying that these good guys are just going to want to exclude people from the race, and that's evidently what they're going to do. How hard they take this run is going to be interesting. I think we saw Murray go pretty deep there, and the others have to go pretty deep to hang on to him. So whether he's going to run this on that red line or just below it is going to be interesting to see. Whether they finish, the three of them, finish the run together is going to be interesting. I think if it was me, just to be safe, if you pushed on in the last kilometre, so you could jump on the bike with even a couple of seconds lead, have the guys with you in the red and push it on, put them under pressure over those first few K. That would be the ideal scenario. So we'll see if any of them try to get a jump over the last kilometre of the run. But we've got to remember they finished with the swim, and the swimming on their own. After 15 minutes of flat-out racing, you could lose 15 or 20 seconds in only 300 metres.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest to you, that in Johnny's head, is he thinking, OK, if I can stay with Murray and Blumenfeld on the run, on the bike, you've got to fancy on all known form he could outswim both of them over 300 metres.
Yeah, I would expect Johnny to outswim both of them comfortably in the last 300 metres. Christian Blumenfeld is a pretty good swimmer. Richard Murray is swimming's OK, but he'd be the first one to say it's definitely his weakness. So yeah, Johnny's head, he'll be going, if I'm there at the end of the bike, I can steal 10 seconds here, and that would be fantastic. That said, he's going to want to push it on as well. He's going to want to push it on the bike today. They've just started, but a bit of confusion at the start there.
Well, they were virtually together over the finish line. I don't think it makes too much odds. The three of them have got that advantage of around about 10 seconds over Henry Schoeman, and then the likes of Mario Mola and Jake Birtwistle. I was just saying to Ali, Emma, about the leading three. Let me put you in the running shoes of either Mario or Jake. What do you want to try and do to get back into this? Because you don't want that 10-second gap. So you don't want it to grow any more than that.
Oh, exactly. I mean, if I was Mario, I'd be worried. I mean, look at the calibre of the three that are out there. I mean, they know they've got that advantage already. All they want to do is just keep tightening that screw and try to extend it even further. And look, everybody's got fatigue. Everybody's got lactic acid running through their body right now, and it's just a matter of who can try and talk the body into getting rid of it as quickly as possible.
I think Richard Murray just answered our question for us there. We just saw him fly past the commentary box looking like a man possessed and going as hard as he could. So he's taking this on. He might be thinking, I want to maximise the time to the guys behind, or he might be thinking, you know what, I fancy 5 seconds on these guys going onto the bike.
Well, that'll be interesting if that is the case, because we know how well Murray rides a bike. And just looking a bit further back, you saw one of the Polyansky brothers starting. There's our leading three. Nothing between them really. Murray, Blumenfeld, Brownlee round the roundabout. Yeah, Murray's definitely pushing it there. That metre gap from Murray back to Blumenfeld is probably a bit more than you'd like to see it if you were in that group. So I think he's pushing it on and hurting them. And we'll just see over these next couple of K here. They're going hard, definitely, no doubt about it. They're not far off the red line at all, and they're going to be putting time into the guys behind them, or it's going to stay parity.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, what sort of pace, for the people, the die-hard runners out there, what pace is your brother running at?
I would estimate somewhere around 250k pace. Evidently, if he was running a 2k on the track fresh, it would be a fair bit faster. But we've got to count in the fact there's some pretty sharp corners here, cambers on the road, ups and downs, and it's a triathlon. They've done 2 events before the run before, and they've got 2 events after this, and so that'll just take the edge off the running. I mean, if they were running 2k as it was, they're all capable of running quick, I would have thought. 230k pace, no problem. 1500 metre, 345 kind of pace. So that's what you're kind of looking at, but you have to remember they're going to jump on the bike for the best part of 10 minutes, and then they've got to jump into the water with lactate everywhere in the body.
And how tough is it for Schoeman racing there on his own in 4th, Ali? Because the kind of course it is, with so many corners, it's hard for him to judge whether he's getting any closer or getting further away from that leading trio. Yeah,
it's really hard to judge until he gets back to the bit that we're on, the start-finish line transition area where it's straight and with a dead turn. He's in an interesting tactical position actually, because he's got those guys not very far behind him who are probably going to catch him by the end of the run. Does he wait for them? Does he not? It would be interesting to know what's going through his mind. In my mind, I'd probably look at waiting for them over the 2k. So I just would run 2 or 3 seconds a kilometre off what I'd run normally. That would mean they would catch me, and then you've got a group to work with going onto the bike.
Mario Mola there looks to me, to the naked eye at least, to have made up a little bit of ground. on the likes of Skim. Jake Birtwhistle just racing behind Mario there.
Yeah, this is Mario Mola's strength, though. Running at the start of a race, those first 2K is absolutely class runner over these kind of distances. And this is definitely his strength, so he'll be trying to use that to the max, make up that time before he gets on the bike, and then onto the swim where he's not quite as strong. But again, we're seeing it spread right out even more. I think athletes spread. Top 20 spread over the best part of a minute now, and massive gaps. That's a 200-metre gap from even more, 300 metres from the leaders back to Van Egden there.
Dijkstra just going through with Ryan Sissons, who had by a distance his best season on tour in 2017, even though he's just approaching 30. He probably won't thank me for reminding him. A little bit further back, Richard Varga.
Seeing these guys come through now, I mean, you said they're spread out, but I mean, at least that group with Mola, there was some sort of group that could possibly form on the bike and work together. I mean, these guys end up becoming, they're straggling by the time they get onto the bike, and probably never really, some of them maybe not used to even having to ride on their own. Yeah, definitely. There's people in triathlon in this race who will literally have never raced at the front of a race with no one in front of them in their careers, so that they don't want to be in that position, and they know it's dangerous to be in that position. And like I said, they don't want to be exposed, especially after running a max out 2K where the legs are already lactated up. You can't just rely on spinning your legs. You have to rely on being technically good. You have to rely on having a great pedal stroke. You have to rely on your power, and similar going into the swim, whereas normally you can just rely on a bit of freshness and spinning your legs. So these guys don't want to be exposed and in that position. They'll be looking around them, which is exactly why we were just talking about why it's an interesting call that Schumann's got to make. Does he wait for those guys or not?
Just tell you that Ben Shaw has been eliminated, more than 90 seconds behind.
Yeah, out. It's not a great day for him, but yeah, I was pretty much there in Hamilton Island, so I kind of know what he's going through as well. It's not a fun place to be, is it? No, we saw the guys taking on water on that run, which is interesting, only over 2K, but I think that means that they know it's hard, they know they're pushing it on, and that they're just thinking of this as an hour of racing rather than just the 20-minute races, which is the right thing to do, and shows that they're not absolutely on the limit. So Richard Mola taking on water there shows that we all know that if you're running as hard as you can, you can't get the oxygen and water in at the same time. So it shows he's got a bit of spare capacity there.
I'm interested in both of your views on how difficult or not difficult it's going to be for these guys to adapt to an order they're not used to. So now we're going to run onto the bike, and then we're going to get the swim after that. Is that going to cause many problems?
You feel absolutely awful. Yeah, I mean, of course, when you come to triathlon, the feeling of running off the bike alone is very unusual, and certainly takes some getting used to. But these guys never experience this in any racing they do other than this. So again, at least the blood is in the legs. That's one thing that's different than them going and diving into the water. So but yes, calves, quads now, all those predominant muscle groups are having to shift and shunt the blood around, and it just elevates the lactic acid in the whole of your body even that much more.
I think this could be the most interesting part of the race, to be honest. This first couple of minutes coming off that run, like you said, it's not going to be fun for any of them. There's going to be a lot of lactate floating around, and you've suddenly got to jump on and ride a bike and use a slightly different set of muscles. And we're seeing these gaps get massive. It was 22 seconds back to Schumann and Mario coming into that transition, so that gap has actually gone out of those first 2K to both of them. And Johnny and Christian Blumenfeld and Richard Murray are probably the three best cyclists, strongest, technically best cyclists over this kind of course. So I can only see this gap extending over this bike.
Well, it'll be interesting the first time we get to see the leaders again, because it just looked to me as though Murray might have had a better transition than either Johnny Brownlee or Blumenfeld, but it looks like they are still pretty much together as a trio.
Yeah, I think Murray did have a good transition. He's technically very, very clinical a lot of the time, so he might have just got a bit of a run on them there. But yeah, I expect the three of them here to work hard and push and race well together.
Let's have a little bit of a history, Richard Murray, of maybe not being the tidiest in transition. He's had a few time penalties down the years.
I think most of us have over the years. If you race enough, something's got to go wrong at some point, hasn't it?
The one that cost him big time in Hamburg a few years ago, but no problems today.
Yeah, one of the nice things about Super League actually is just that slightly more relaxed approach to it. Okay, if something isn't quite in your box, as long as it's not impeding other people, it doesn't matter too much, which is really refreshing, because you know, okay, if you're in transition and you get off and you throw your helmet at another athlete or you put it in their way, fair enough, you should be penalised for it. But if your wetsuit's half out of the box, I'm not convinced that that's a bad thing. Are you?
How tidy were you, Emma?
I was certainly in the era where those rules didn't exist, and I totally agree. I think, you know, there's heat of racing, there's things that, you know, you're not thinking about, that the corner of your wetsuit is tucked in. But again, you know, I think all within fair limits, and this sort of racing, I mean, yeah, you have to be quick, you have to be methodical in your transitions, and I think the sort of people that have come from ITU, you know, somewhat do benefit in those sort of circumstances, but there has to be that fine line between, you know, what's in the heat of the moment for the racing or what's actually deliberate.
Yeah, we actually just saw that gap go out even further there. So from 28 seconds in a lap, 6 seconds in just over a K of cycling. So it shows us, firstly, that these guys are pushing and are going. Secondly, that the run has taken more out of the guys behind and they're not going as fast. So we could expect this gap to probably go out and grow over the next few laps. These guys are working well together. We saw Richard Murray take most of the first lap, Christian Blumenfeld on the second lap. Tactically, I don't know whether Johnny will be thinking here, yeah, energy conserve, I can outswim these guys and put 10 seconds in on the last bit, or whether he's thinking, yeah, actually, no, I'll have a rest because I'm tired. We'll see.
Well, we will in the next few moments, but yeah, I mean, it's starting to become, well, it has become already, a really significant gap back, nearly half a minute, and brilliant as the likes of Mario Mola, Jake Birtwistle are, to expect them to make up 30 seconds on the last stage is a massive and probably very, very unlikely ask.
Yeah, I think there's about 4 or 5 people who are going to get lapped out here. If you just looked on the shot there, as these guys were coming into transition and the guys going the other way, there's a couple of guys that are really close to getting lapped out, and whether the 90-second rule comes in and takes them out beforehand or not, I don't know. The gap to the guys behind, we can tell, has gone up even further. You know, these guys have cleared the entire transition area before they've come through again, so it seems, yeah, 31 seconds, not as much, but it is going up. These guys are a bit more organised now. They're organised the chase. You see Alexandre Fabian there, a great rider, and Birtwistle obviously working together. They've seen the danger and they're covering it. They know to stay in this competition, they can't start losing the best part of a minute to the guys in front.
Well, not a good stage so far for Henry Schoeman either. He started 10 seconds behind that leading trio, and he's now more than 30 seconds back, so it's taking its toll.
It is, but you've got to remember that at the end of the day, the time splits aren't important, it goes to points. So actually, you know, placing for him is more important. So he's gone, I'm going to wait for those guys, and energy-wise, that's the best thing to do, because if I go this alone, I'm not going to make up those 10 seconds on the guys in front. I'm not going to catch them. I could absolutely kill myself and try to catch them, but I'm not going to do it. And so all it's going to do is cost me, and the guys behind are probably going to catch me because they're in a group anyway, and I've just wasted some energy. So he didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said before, there's just so many tactics that are coming into play that we've never had to see before, and we've never seen this in men's racing. Let's be honest, we have never seen a men's field broken up like this.
No, I think it's fantastic racing, and we're seeing it broken up for a few reasons. We're seeing it broken up because of how aggressive the athletes are racing, and just on cue we saw Richard Murray's face there, and absolute determination.
His eyes are quite scary, aren't they, when he's in focus mode?
They're quite scary when he just sits and has breakfast with you, let alone on a bike.
But also it's the course, and this technical nature of it makes it, and it's just fantastic to see, because I think this is what all fans of triathlon want to see. We want to see exciting, fast racing where the whole part of the swim, bike and run count, and this is exactly what Super League's about.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing in Super League for just trying to coast along with the back of a bike pack. It will not work ever.
Yeah, I tried that, it didn't work.
That was, I don't think you were very well, were you, that day?
No, well, it wasn't a good day or a good few days to have my sick race. I'm ill very, very rarely, and that was not a good time to choose to be ill. I probably would get away with it on most kind of World Series type racing.
News of someone who hasn't got away with it. Another casualty. Crisanta Grajales is out on the 90-second rule.
Yeah, like I said, I think we could see a few people get eliminated on the 90-second rule.
And I'll be honest, I didn't think I would have expected to see that in the men's field at all. Would you agree?
Yeah, he's a good athlete. He, you know, known for his running, but like we've been talking about, people's weaknesses get shown here because they get exposed. And again, his swim and his bike aren't great. You know, you wouldn't normally see him working really hard in a WTS type race. So I think he's struggling. And also, you know, the season effect. It's the end of a tough season, different type of racing, and you never know how you're going to get up and feel on a day like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Grajales, he would prefer if it was like 38 degrees rather than 20. But he is the 2015 Pan Am Games champion. I mean, he's a top-class athlete in his own right. But today, as Alistair says, in this format, he hasn't been able to live with the pace that these kind of guys are showing at the front.
Yeah, it's getting really tactical between these guys now. I think they're still working hard, but they're not working at max. I just saw Johnny swing off and not look like he was going quite as hard as he could. These guys, they're not got any more time on the guys behind them, and so I'm pretty sure they're starting to think, well, we're together 30 seconds behind. Those guys are actually out this race for the win now. Let's look at each other and start thinking who's going to put time into each other on the swim, depending on how hard we work on the bike.
Would you say this type of racing really gets, I mean, there's always this argument, you know, what's the best triathlete, who's the best, you know, I mean, it's typical banter, isn't it? You know, who and what is the best triathlete in the world? And I think this is like you keep reminding us, you know, it's just exposing athletes in different ways. Yes, we have fatigue on the side of end of season, but you know, I think this is the sort of racing everybody has wanted to see, isn't it? That, you know, just to see these athletes going absolutely full throttle at a sport that we really get to enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I think we could sit here and argue all day about what type of triathlon allowed us to see what the best triathlete is, and it doesn't actually matter at the end of the day, does it? We just want to see fast, exciting racing, and that's what we're seeing. Personally, I think it would be great to see in the future consistent swim bike run where there wasn't actually the 10-minute rest in between. I think we'd start to have a bit more of the endurance element come in there. And,
okay, so just keep going.
Yeah, I think straight through, that would have made it really interesting.
Last data I have, Richard Varga and Jorik van Egten both right on the cusp. They're a minute 25 back. So
well, we'll just see him here. I think Richard will be hoping he can get to the end of the bike here, and he'll be able to get a few seconds at least back on the swim. Some guys here have chosen to go with goggles round the neck, and other guys haven't. So Christian, for example, he's got goggles around his neck in the hope that that would mean that he didn't have to pick them up from the box, but he still had to pick his swimming hat up. So, I mean, once you're down there, you might as well pick both things up. I'm not convinced that's saved any time at all. And Johnny will be absolutely using this next 30 seconds and then 3.5 minutes into the swim to hope that he's hurt people on the bike, and he can now get some time on this swim. He knows this is his chance to just steal 10 seconds.
Well, he had a really good transition. Just news that João Pereira is another who's out. He's one of those athletes can be great on his day, but he can be inconsistent, and he hasn't been able to live with it today either. So they're falling like flies here, and we're only on stage 2. Yeah,
it's brutal. It's been raced aggressively, and that's why it's spreading out. These athletes are kind of getting shown up, and it's tough for them. And yeah, Johnny, he would have liked I would have thought that those guys didn't just jump straight in on his feet. He would have wanted just a couple of seconds to stretch it out. But that said, he's going to be trying to get a bit of time here, and it's going to be interesting to see. And yeah, so he's in a good position here. He's the one getting clear water and calling the shots, and the two guys behind him are on each other's hips, actually slowing each other down and making it harder for them both to stay with Johnny.
But someone like Richard, who of the three is not the strongest swimmer, I mean, would he tactically be looking at that and saying, you know what, I've got to fight for every stroke, every piece of water to stay with these guys, as much as it's detrimental to somewhat both of them, but in some way for him, he kind of is getting dragged probably along a little faster than maybe what he would be on his own.
Yeah, yes and no, because if Richard sits on Christian's hips, he's actually having a massive drag effect on Christian, slowing him right down, and it makes it less likely that Christian gets on Johnny's feet and they could both lose a bit of time. The sensible thing to do, which is what has actually happened now, Christian's gone, there's no point fighting for the feet. I'm going to hope that Richard manages to get on the feet, and I'm just going to swim in third place on the feet, which is actually quite a big energy saving by the time you're back there, you know, probably 5 seconds easier per 100 metres, and he's hoping he can just hang on, and Johnny will be doing everything he can just to try and split it up and just get, if he gets 2 or 3 metres of water, that could grow very quickly to 10 and then 15 metres, and that's a bit of time.
I'm not sure these guys have read the script, because tomorrow is supposed to be the eliminator, and already just looking down the times here, currently in 14th place is Igor Poliansky. He's a minute 25 back. I mean, we could potentially have lost 10 people in around about a minute and a half's time, and no one would ever have imagined that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that struck me from Hamilton Island is that it was obviously tough and it was a great form of racing, but I didn't feel it was raced very aggressively. And we're seeing a fit Johnny in the race here racing it aggressively, and that's why we're seeing people eliminated. It'll be really interesting actually in only just less than 2 hours time now to see what the women's like, because they could race this course completely different, and then we know it's the aggressiveness of the race as opposed to the actual course, won't we? How it's raced.
Yeah, just a reminder, we'll of course bring you live coverage of the first ever Women's Super League triathlon race after this men's event is concluded. This is stage 2 of 3 today for the men. The round is completed tomorrow with the eliminator, but how many are going to be in that is anyone's guess at the moment, because Johnny Brownlee setting a fearsome pace, looks like he's going to win this stage. Richard Murray has gone ahead of Blumenfeld in the water, so decent swim for Murray. And these three, even with one whole stage to go, Ali, you suspect they're going to be fighting it out for the points a bit later.
Yeah, I think the first thing is I'm pretty sure you can start tomorrow even if you get eliminated today.
That's correct.
So you can start the race. I mean, obviously you're not going to win the overall because you're not going to get the points. But yeah, I think Johnny is using this chance to try and get a few seconds on people. He knows he's going to start the next one with a bike leg. If you can have a few seconds, maybe you can hold on and extend that gap, maybe not. And the other two guys are just trying to stay in it. They've actually got a pretty tough run at this swim. They've got to get out the swim, run 50 metres up a really steep slope, and then back round through transition, probably the best part of 200 metres. So that's another chance for a bit of time to be gained or to be caught.
Yeah, we saw a few of them having problems coming out the water in stage 1, but no such issues for Johnny Brownlee, who is away, closely pursued by Richard Murray and Christian Blumenfeld. And as Ali was mentioning, up that steep ramp with runs on one side, but that won't be a problem when you go single file. Might be an issue for those behind if there are a couple close together. Yeah, crowd rising to your brother.
Yeah, I think we are in Jersey, but a lot of people here associate and obviously British, so hopefully he's getting a bit of home support, as it were. And yeah, we saw him get out of the water there and really push. I think he's seen this as a bit of a chance to get a bit of time. He knows everyone will be hurting, and he knows he can get a bit of time there. Whereas these other guys, Richard especially got out of the water, had a bit of a slower turnover. And that's where he's just got a few seconds. I mean, I'm not convinced now what effect it's going to have, because they're going to start on the bike 3 seconds apart, and I think it's actually going to come together. I mean, I know Johnny's going to try and take it on, but I can't see these three staying apart for the 7K that we're about 7K bike we're about to start with.
So stage 2, Johnny Brownlee will go out first on stage 3. Blumenfeld and Murray cross the line together. Second and third, the order doesn't really make any difference. And
all that work, all that effort for 3 seconds.
I know, absolutely. And this is a good effort by, we've got the likes of Schilling and Mola and
Schumann must have had a great swim there. Great swim. He's caught the best part of 15 seconds up on that swim, so he's done really well. Obviously used the clear water and swam well to get that time, and we just see Mario Mola come over the line in 5th. I think that's probably about 30 seconds down.
Yeah, good work from Aaron Royal as well, who's clawed back some time. Fabian and Matt Hauser and Jake Birtwhistle 37 seconds adrift there. Schilling, that's a good effort from him. He's starting the worst possible place from slot 25.
Yeah, we're just going to wait and see now whether all these guys are going to make it in for the 90 seconds.
Okay, I think we can go down, or we will go down shortly and speak to Johnny Brownlee as we watch the rest of the men come in, and they are some way back, and the time officials are going to be working overtime. Let's go down to Vicky. She's got Johnny Brownlee with her.
Well, tell me, was that purely tactical in this stage?
That was very tactical, that race. I was trying to save as much energy I could on the run of the bike to leave it for the swim, and I thought I'd get a big gap on the swim, but I think we were all tired going into that swim, and I thought my stroke would help me out, but it didn't really have. Only a few seconds ahead, but that was good fun. I'm enjoying it.
So 2 stages down, I mean, do you think it's taken anything out for the 3rd?
Oh yeah, definitely, of course it has. I'd be lying if I said I'm not tired now, but it's all about being less tired than the other person you race against, so hoping else perform when you're as tired, so hopefully I'm still less tired than everyone else.
Well, you're putting on a fantastic show for us, thank you.
Thank you.
See, Emma's so quick, I didn't even see her sprint out the box and get down there to talk to Johnny. Sounds pretty relaxed and pretty confident, Ali.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting what you were saying there about how tactical it was, because watching it, we thought it was pretty full on. So it's interesting that maybe he thought it was tactical and the others didn't. We'll have to wait and see. And he's absolutely right, though. You know, triathlon is about being basically using less energy than everyone else until it counts. And I think this format of Triathlon Super League is even more about that than any other, because yeah, it's going to come down to tiny margins, and you know these guys are all going to be fatigued going into this last round.
And it's about giving the spectators a real experience at the event as well. You can see them there 6 or 7 deep. And beautiful weather here in Jersey, as we can check the results after stage 2, where Johnny has a 3-second advantage over Blumenfeld and Murray. We reckon those three will come together on the bike in the final stage today for them. Henry Schoeman 17 seconds back, and then it's more than half a minute to the likes of Royal, Mola, the youngster Matt Hauser, Jake Birtwistle, who was so competitive on Hamilton Island, and Andreas Schilling there just sneaking into the top 10 as well. But plenty of casualties who've been thwarted by the 90-second rule. A bit further down, Ryan Fisher, a minute plus. Richard Varga just about okay, a minute and 16 back. Igor Polyansky, a minute and 31. Wow.
That means he's out.
I believe so, under the 90-second rule. Now we can go back down to Vicky, see who she's got with her this time.
No, we haven't got anyone. They've all gone.
Okay, well, we'll go back to Vicky when she does have some company, as we look at Mario Mola there and Aaron Royal.
It is only a 10-minute rest. You know, you don't want to waste even 10 seconds of that 10-minute rest having to do anything you don't want to do. You know, in this period, you want to probably get a bit of water and a bit of nutrition, get your breath back.
Okay, well, while we let Vicky find someone, I think Emma has got someone to talk to. All yours, Emma.
Spencer, this doesn't look good because I've got Vicky Vargas not looking good.
It's a big step ahead for us here. So we have the best women, best men, and even corporate teams today and tomorrow. And we also got a great support and hospitality from the Jersey. So I hope we'll be back next year.
Well, I think the event is turning out to be bigger and better than we all expected, so we're excited to see the third stage for today.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think that the third stage will be very dramatic because we have 3 guys who are leading, and it's not clear who will win today, and that's great.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, make sure that you keep the microphone there. Okay. Fascinating to hear, though. This event is clearly taking the sport by storm, and it's not over yet. What a glorious backdrop is here in Jersey. I've never actually been here, and I don't live that far away on the mainland. I don't think you've been here either, have you, Em?
No, me neither, and I'm possibly the greatest proponent that we should explore where we live and close to where we are. I love exploring different parts of Yorkshire and the Lake District to Northern England and Scotland, and yeah, but that said, I've never been to Jersey, and look what I've been missing out on.
Population around about 100,000 here, and it feels like most of them are lining the course on different parts of it. It's only 46 square miles, the island of Jersey, but you can trace the history back about 1,000 years, and I think the history of triathlon, without question, has been altered by what Super League has done, not just here, also on Hamilton Island as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think for a few reasons. You know, one of the bigger reasons is this type and format of triathlon is really designed to provide entertainment and for the spectator. Both the spectator stood here on the side of the course, the fantastic Jersey residents and the people who have come to watch, but also the people who are watching all over the world on TV. And you know, like we've been finding watching it, it's just action-packed. It's great to watch, and the second big thing is it's just different for the athletes to race. Something different tactics, and it's within still an endurance sport. So I think they're all really enjoying it.
It's certainly an experience, and Johnny Brownlee is within one stage of getting huge points. Just a reminder on how the system works as we're getting towards the point where it's going to be really important. 25 for the winner, 21 points for second. 18, 16, 14, 12 down to 10 for 7th place. It goes down, in fact, to 15th in all.
Fernando.
We've already had, as mentioned, several casualties. I can tell you, Yorick Van Egmond, 2 minutes and 12 seconds off the pace. So even if we'd had a 2-minute rule, he wouldn't have got in, let alone a 90-second rule. Are you surprised we've had so many casualties, Alistair?
Yeah, I am. We didn't see this many casualties in Hamilton Island, and 90 seconds over 20 minutes of racing, although 40 minutes of racing now isn't a long time at all. But then the other side of it, like we keep saying, that this has been really aggressive racing, and I think that's hurt people. It's hurt people like Yuri Van Egmond, for example, who would say his swim isn't his strength, and you know, he's been caught out on that, been left isolated and lost that time.
Just looking at the current positions with one stage to go, is it possible, can you see anyone, a Schoeman, a Royal, a Mola, whoever, getting competitive with that leading three, or have those three got it between them?
Those three pretty much dead on, I would have said, have got it between them. They're going to go out and they're going to ride hard, and they're going to ride hard to push each other on and to make sure no one else gets in the race. I think Johnny's probably going to try and steal a bit of a jump on them, but it's probably not going to work. It's going to come back together, but it's not going to leave much chance for the other guys to get back in the race.
We started with 24, we have 17 left, so 7 have fallen by the wayside. Just to reiterate what Alistair said a moment ago, they won't be able to race obviously in stage 3, but they will be able to race tomorrow in the eliminator when everyone is back in the mix. But clearly you're not going to win the whole thing if you don't get any serious points today, and they're all going to get, I think, 1 point if that.
Absolutely not. And we're just seeing now a lot of them are standing in groups kind of chatting to each other, whether it's just pleasantries saying how nice the weather is and what they're going to have for dinner tonight, or whether they're talking tactics and, you know, should I wait for you? If I wait for you, are we going to work together on this bit on the bike? Would be interesting to know. Maybe Emma can ask them afterwards.
Well, I don't know if there's anything to go off the slot draw between the men and the women. I have to say the women were probably a little more unpleasant to each other than the men were, so who knows. But
see, only you are allowed to say that. We wouldn't be allowed to say that.
Oh no, I'll be the first to admit that what goes on in the water in the women's racing is far worse than what goes on in the men's. So I think these boys are probably looking at each other and really really talking about how actually tired they are.
The tides here are amazing. Where you just saw those guys standing, or behind them was the sea earlier on, and now it's just a seabed. These guys don't have much time though to enjoy the scenery. Just 30 seconds to go until we'll be off and running for the final stage of this race. 25 points to the winner. Brownlee wants the points, Murray wants the points, Blumenfeld wants the points. Only one of them can get them.
Yeah, this I believe they're doing a running start onto the bike here, so
yep,
they're effectively doing a transition with nothing before it, straight onto the bike. So it's slightly unique, never seen this before.
So away goes Johnny, and there'll be a few second wait for Blumenfeld and for Murray. But as you say, they've got to put the helmet on, they've got to get onto the bike, not before the line obviously.
What this does,
the bike shoes.
Sorry, what this does do though is it just allows for little gaps, you know. For example, if that 3-second gap to Johnny goes to 5 seconds, or if it comes back to 1 second, it just makes it that more difficult or easier to close, or if Blumenfeld there messes up getting his shoes on, that could literally cost him the race. So just adds a little bit extra complexity into it.
Yeah, there was an issue for Blumenfeld. He had by far the worst of it of the leading three. Schoeman had a slight issue with his helmet strap, but he's on and aboard, and there's Aaron Royal just pursued by Mario Mola.
Yeah. It's certainly strange seeing them all standing there with no shoes on, a dead start, running to their bikes and getting on the bike. I mean, even for me that's seen this sport, it's somewhat, a little confusing, but like you said, I mean, there's just so much that the little mistakes and the little bit of tactics that might be coming into play.
Andreas Schilling had a real problem getting on his bike there, you might have seen.
Yeah, we actually just saw there was about a 3 or 4 second gap back to Blumenfeld as he came back past us and went and headed out on the course, and will be interesting to see whether he can get back on, how hard the two guys, Johnny and Richard Murray, are going to push it at the front, whether they don't allow him to get back into the race now or whether they have no choice. Poor Henry Schumann is in exactly the same place as he was before. He doesn't know he's on his own. Does he wait for the guys behind him or not? I think this time he shouldn't. He's got to ride. He's a great swimmer, so I think he's got to ride, limit his losses, and try and swim as well as he can.
So all bar a couple now are on board their bikes, and it had a transition.
Someone nearly fell off on that bend there. The last person to go around it. I don't know who he was, but he very nearly fell off.
Do you think it's quite possible in these short turnarounds that the guys haven't even thought about maybe even changing the gearing?
Yeah, quite possibly. I did actually see them do that at the end of the first race. They went back in, you know, changed the gearing. Obviously, when you're jumping on your bike, you don't want to be in too big a gear or too little a gear. You want to get moving as quick as you can. But yeah, like I said, they've not got a lot of room to manoeuvre here. They're tired. They're probably not thinking straight, and definitely they can make mistakes.
We saw in that replay we just showed you, problems can occur just getting onto your bike. But it looks as though Blumenfeld has caught on to Murray and Brownlee, so they're together again, these three, as they have been pretty much for the entire afternoon.
Yeah, it's been close, been fantastic racing, both hard, tough, aggressive racing and tactical at times between these three. And yeah, we'll see now. It didn't look like they were pushing as hard as they could there to me. It looked like they were just biding the time a bit. They know, Richard will know he doesn't want to go that hard into the swim, and Johnny will know if he can save a bit of energy, you know, maybe he can get a bit of time. So this is all going through the minds at the same time as going, well, I don't want to let any of those guys behind me catch me up.
And how much is today going to have taken out of them, Alistair, ahead of tomorrow? Because for these three, it's not just about winning the race, it's about winning the round as well. You don't want to be going in tomorrow any more fatigued than you absolutely have to be.
I don't think any of them are thinking about tomorrow at this point. I think they'll be going absolutely hard they can, trying to win this race. And I mean, I don't actually think it'll have that much effect on tomorrow. It is only an hour of racing all split up. It's not like they're running a tough 10k all in one, which is the kind of thing which normally tends to batter your legs and you get the muscle damage and DOMs that cost you a few days afterwards. Yeah, I think they'll be tired tonight. There'll obviously be lots of anaerobic racing going here, lots of lactic acid in the muscles, and that's hurting them. But that goes pretty quick, and you recover from it. And I think they'll be able to race hard again tomorrow.
Yeah, if anything, I think if the racing was, you know, in 2 or 3 days' time, they'd feel a lot worse, you know, when the body is trying to catch up and recover. But you know, the short, sharp racing is certainly causes some severe muscle fatigue and soreness. So I think in some way, you know, these athletes are experienced and they'd prefer to be racing straight up in the morning. But you know, the fact that that it's such short racing that they are so on the red line. I mean, even heading into the third race, most of them, their eyes are just looking like, really? I'd be quite happy if we'd just done 2 today.
Yeah, it looks like those chasing Schoeman are likely to catch on fairly shortly. He's had a couple of kind of slightly nervous looks behind him.
Yeah, I think like we were talking about, Schoeman was in a difficult position there and he wasn't sure whether to wait, but I think we saw him looking behind him and he was waiting. Tactically, it's the best thing to do. Maybe he's going to try and sit in and have a little rest for a couple of laps now and hope that he can cause some damage on the swim. I mean, Schoeman really is a fantastic swimmer, so he made a lot of time up actually on that last leg. We didn't talk too much about it. I think probably swam the best part of 15 seconds into Johnny. I think Johnny will be disappointed with that swim, and Schoeman's had an absolutely flying swim there which has kept him in the hunt for a top place.
Well, the swim, remember, is next on this stage after the bike, and then they finish with the run. We could be in for a classic, because all these three guys, we know at the top of their form, can run brilliantly. Blumenfeld's had a fabulous season. Johnny Brownlee we saw in Stockholm recently, and of course Richard Murray's running needs no introduction either, so hard to call that too, even at this stage.
Yeah, impossible to call it, and I'm not even going to try. It's a completely unique format, and it's difficult. I think we're seeing Schilling struggling a bit there, aren't we? He had that terrible transition and a bad bike mount, and maybe he's tired already and he's making mistakes, or maybe that's cost him. We'll wait and see.
I mean, is it just me, but you do get those days where you feel like you're pedaling squares? Is this going to be one of those places where they just feel like the bike just does not have round wheels anymore?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows what it's like to have a bad day in whatever walk of life you're in, and on this kind of stage, in this event, anything bad, you know, gets magnified and has massive consequences. So yeah, he could well be having a bad day, and that's hurting him. Maybe we've talked a lot about being tired, maybe that, or maybe it's the format of the racing, you know, jumping on your bike straight off, or after running, or after the races that's already been going on, with loads of lactic in your legs can be really, really tough.
Well, it's about half a minute plus now to those behind the leading trio, and as we expected, Schoeman now riding alongside the likes of Matt Hauser, Mario Mola, Aaron Royal, Alessandro Fabian is there as well, along with Jake Birtwhistle and Andrea Schilling after that awkward bike mount a few moments ago. But these three surely now have it between them.
Yeah, almost certainly. And we're seeing just the slight nuance of the tactics here and how they're riding. Johnny is riding a a very clinically clean race. He's not over-risking around corners, he's riding quick, he's making sure he's really close to the wheel in front of him when he's behind, saving all the energy he can, but still putting people under a bit of pressure. Richard corners really well and really quickly, quicker than Johnny, and he's using that to put the other guys under pressure. He corners quick and really pushes out of it. Christian isn't as skillful as the other two. You can see that. He drops off the wheel on almost every corner and has to chase that little bit back on. That could or could not cost him in the next few events. So it's quite interesting just to watch how different they are and how different they're trying to push it on.
There's no half measures with Christian Blumenfeld, are there, Emma? It's absolutely everything every time with him.
He does say that, you know, he does race all out there, and sometimes to the detriment. He did say at points that it is bordering on stupid, but I think, you know, as an athlete, we've obviously seen and heard his name now a little bit more this year, and I guess that, you know, he's just somebody who's willing to test his boundaries in whatever capacity. And look, if you've got the likes of those two athletes around you, all you can do is live and learn.
Just heard that Igor Polyansky is the latest casualty. So yet another big name is out, more than 90 seconds behind.
Yeah, this is great racing we're seeing, and I think the number of people that have been taken out is testament to that, and we've still got 2 legs to go. These guys have got to dive into the water now after a really hard 10 minutes on the bike and swim, and yeah, we'll see again whether that gives any chance for just a bit of daylight to develop between them.
Well, Johnny did mention after that round that he thought that his stroke would feel better, you know, that would account for something in the water that would take over. So even as someone who feels as confident in the water as he does, for him to say that, you know, he really struggled in this instance.
Yeah, I know very well Johnny puts a lot of stock in his swimming stroke. He's always telling me how good it is. So, yeah, I'm absolute testament to that. But
where does he get that modesty from, do you think?
I don't know. Well, he thinks it's better than mine anyway. So, and yeah, I probably agree with him on the whole.
So here they come through transition and off the bikes. And this swim could be absolutely pivotal in deciding who's going to get the maximum 25 points. One of them's going to get 25, one of them's going to get 21, and one of them's going to get 18. And that 7-point gap, first to third, could potentially be critical come tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely critical. I mean, there is only 2 races, and that is, just see Ben Dijkstra there on the side of the course. I don't know whether he's been eliminated or been taken out or crashed, I'm not sure, but he's definitely out of this race.
Just been pulled out, Alistair, again, more than 90 seconds behind.
Yeah, so more and more people going out. Yep, this swim is going to be crucial. Any little moment here, a gap on the swim or a bad transition could have massive consequences in the whole, not just today's race, but the whole picture in terms of the combination of the races tomorrow, definitely.
Blumenfeld, Brownlee and Murray in that order as they head towards the marina.
Yeah, we're going to see Blumenfeld dive in here first and take it on. I would expect Johnny just to either try and sit on him a little bit and rest or take it on. And Richard Murray just needs to go straight for the first feet he can find and conserve energy round here. I think if he knows if he comes out with these guys and conserves energy, then he's in a great position to, to beat these guys over on the 2K run. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's been tactical, especially on this last leg. It's been tactical. I'm pretty sure Johnny's been conserving energy a little bit, and Richard to an extent as well.
What kind of a deficit do you think Richard Murray would accept? In the sense of, okay, maybe 10 seconds, I reckon I can maybe get the better of Johnny and Christian over that with that much of a disadvantage, or 15 or 5?
No, I think if he knows there's much more than 5 seconds, he's going to struggle, to be honest. I would have thought over 2K, I mean, they're fairly evenly matched running anyway. We saw last week where Johnny actually beat Richard at over 10K, fair enough, but yeah, I think they're fairly evenly matched. I think if they all come out together, the 3 of them, I think it's going to be interesting to see whatever. So if there's any gap there, it's going to be even more interesting. And we see, I mean, so Johnny there is leading, turning his arms over. Christian's in second place on his feet, really turning over quick and choppy, doing all he can to stay on Johnny's feet. And whether that's going to cost him in the next 200 metres of the swim or going on to the run, it's going to be interesting to see. Richard just dropping back onto the feet, energy conservation and holding in there. That's definitely the best tactic for him.
I reckon at the moment it is about 5 seconds from Johnny Brownlee back to Richard Murray. We'll get obviously the official times when they come out of the water in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's not splitting as much as we might have thought on these swim legs. I think, to be honest, when it's just a pure straight line like that and you're just swimming on each other's feet, it's, you know, the advantage you get from being behind someone is massive, and, you know, it's quite easy to stay there. The reason we see it split up more in bigger ITU races when we in the World Series, when people go around boys and they're in big groups, is that people kind of hold each other back, and that allows gaps to happen and not get filled. We see Henry Schumann having another great swim there, trying to swim across the gap.
He sort of keeps going from no man's land back to the group and out to no man's land.
The
again,
water brings him
Yeah.
back into contention every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's having a tough day, isn't he? He's definitely using his strengths to the maximum that you've got to do in this kind of racing.
You can see the gap there. It is around about half a minute from Murray in third, back to Henry Schumann, his fellow South African, in fourth, and it's pretty spread after that as well. I can tell you that currently at the back of the field, looks like Fernando Alaz is going to be pulled out as well.
Yeah, Johnny just eased off his turn over there. I think he's decided I'm not going to drop them at this point in the race, and if I do, if I get a gap for 100 metres, the best I can do is 2 or 3 seconds, and it's not worth it. So I think he's just eased off the gaps, and he's knowing that that's going to conserve just a little bit of energy coming onto the run.
And let's not forget just getting out of the water back up to transition. I mean, you know, someone like Richard really maximises those sorts of places, doesn't he? You know, the small areas within the race, and I just think, yeah, you're right. He's tactically, he's reassessing every few seconds within this race.
Okay, well, we mentioned that Ben Dykstra is out the race as the leading trio come out the waters. Quickly going to Vicky, who's got Ben with her.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so Ben, I can see you're stood here. You've got scrapes covering your body. Not what you were hoping for. Tell us what happened.
I mean, we were just all pushing it, and I think I just went a bit too hard around one of the corners, and that's the thing when you're absolutely on the limit. You've got to try and find that extra percent, and if you overshoot it by 1%, then yeah, things like this happen, and that's just part of racing. Bit of a shame that it happened to me, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching these guys come through the finish, because it's get up tomorrow and do it all again, and hopefully stay on my bike this time.
Yeah, we wish you all the best for tomorrow and hope you heal up overnight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we like the attitude. He wants to get right back into the swim of things tomorrow. Meanwhile, we have just got the run leg to go to decide who's going to win.
This triathlon's really important. I think John has just lost a bit of time there. He struggled to get his shoe on, and that couple of seconds could be absolutely critical. But yeah, you can see the tyres. There's not the really quick turnover you'd expect going out on the start of the run that we saw in the first two rounds. And I think this has really hurt them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over this next 2K run.
Well, it's Aaron Royal who's trying to chase down Henry Schumann, currently in fourth place, but Schuman's got a nice little advantage, so he looks pretty much guaranteed to come fourth, and that carries with it 16 points unless something goes dramatically wrong. But yeah, as you were saying, Alice, it looked like Johnny didn't get it completely right in transition. He's given both Blumenfeld and Murray maybe about 10-15 metres.
Yeah, we're not seeing it from the camera here, but we just saw him run past, and there was a 10-metre gap there, and he didn't look like he was moving that well, to be honest. So I think he's going to struggle to get back on terms over this 2K run, and I think it's probably going to be between Blumenfeld and Murray here.
Well, this is a real statement of intent, isn't it, from Blumenfeld? He just knows only one way to compete. Doesn't matter whether it's in the water, on the bike, or on the run. And he's trying to throw it down to Richard Murray. He hasn't dropped the South African, but he's got himself a little bit of an advantage, with Johnny Brownlee further adrift now, back in third.
No, that's definitely daylight there. He's got an advantage. Murray would be right on that shoulder if he possibly could be, and that just shows Blumenfeld's pushing it on. Johnny's actually lost a fair bit of time here, the best part of 10 seconds over that time, so it must have taken it out of him, and he's struggling. Whether he goes hard here in the hope he can catch Murray or not is going to be interesting to see.
He might suspect discretion could be the better part of valour, because whether he finishes like a second behind him or 30 seconds behind, it's the same points, assuming obviously Schumann doesn't catch him, which looks unlikely in any case over 2K. Murray getting closer to Blumenfeld. This is going to be good.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you know, Blumenfeld is just going absolutely max here, and he knows 2K. He just thought, well, if I can break Murray early doors, maybe I can get a gap and hold on to it. Whereas Murray's gone, no, it's a 2K race, I'm gonna pace up to him, keep it a bit more even paced, and I think that's what he's done now. He's got back on terms with him. He's just behind him, and he'll just sit there now until he feels like he can make a move.
has the Norwegian in his sights. Blumenfeld, though, is so strong. Even if Murray does go past him, expect him to try and fight back. We've seen it before so many times. There's Johnny.
Yeah, Blumenfeld's running really quick around the corners as well, which is one of the interesting things.
His turnover is really, really high, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we've seen Richard and the way he can accelerate and in and out of corners too. But you're right about Christian there. It's really surprising, and they both look like they're really trying to continue to put the pressure on each other. I mean, I think he felt that Murray come up on him and thought, I'm going to try for another gear. So whether or not this gear lasts or not, it's going to be very exciting.
Well, the sweet sound of the bell for Christian Blumenfeld and Richard Murray. They just have 1,000 kilometres to go. Meters, I beg your pardon.
Wow, it would be tight after that.
And you can see the gap now back, and
yeah, Johnny's at risk
struggling
here, actually, of getting caught by Schumann. So yeah, I mean, he has to really race clever here to make sure he doesn't get caught, because once he's at fourth, and the points that will cost him going into the overall, that could be really quite terminal for him. So yeah, interesting that it's obviously really hurt him and he's struggling. This battle between Murray and Blumenfeld is still going on. That's exactly the same as it was last time they came past, 5 metres, and we'll see over this last the closing parts of the race now what goes on.
And Blumenfeld, the way he runs, and we've seen it before, he's not going to just allow Murray to sit on the shoulder and then if he thinks he's going to just ease past him with 100 metres to go. That's not the way he does things, and he's got himself another gap, and this one could potentially be the difference between 25 points and 21. Blumenfeld has had a magnificent season, and we may not have seen the end of it yet because Murray is struggling now to get back on terms with the Norwegian. There you see the gap.
Yeah, that's a significant gap now, a very significant gap. But Murray's still running well, he's still got his head up, you can tell he hasn't given up on it quite yet. But Blumenfeld, he just pushes around every corner and out every corner, and that's what's caused the gap. And I think, I mean, that 10 metres over this last 500 or 600 and going out, I think that's going to be really hard for Murray to close, but you never know.
And a separate battle going on with Johnny Brownlee trying to hold off Henry Schumann. It's the battle for third and fourth, but we are with the leader, Christian Blumenfeld. You can see Murray back. He's not really been able to close in the last minute or so. Blumenfeld knows he's not far away now from starting this second ever Super League Triathlon event with maximum points for the Saturday.
Yeah, I think he's won it now. I can't see Richard Murray being able to close that gap. Blumenfeld is on a high, he's running well. He looks like, I mean, obviously not comfortable, but he's no signs of slowing up at all, and yeah, that gap's gone right out 20-30 metres at least, which is not going to get caught. The interesting thing now is Johnny is probably going to get caught by Henry Schumann, and whether he's waiting to try and get him in the sprint or not, or whether he's just so tired he can't do anything about it, we're going to see in this next minute.
So Richard Murray has to settle for second, and he'll conserve energy from here. No danger of him being caught for that position, and probably if you'd offered him second today at the start, he would have taken it. I mean, he's in great position now to defend that title.
Yeah, to be honest, I think for anyone who isn't in one of these first two, it's going to be quite hard not to win this because of the big points discrepancies, and I think for example someone from third or fourth to win it, Christian Blumenfeld will probably have to finish right back down the order again in worse than what they did, so fourth or fifth, and I'm not sure we're going to see that happen. So yeah, I think we're seeing probably the guys in the first who are going to come first and second overall here. He's enjoying the moment.
Yeah, he is. He's conducting the crowd as well, but he's conducted this race absolutely brilliant. Consistency, he's swum well, he's biked and run really bravely. He looks behind, there's no danger, and he is going to win this race. Blumenfeld takes 25 points, puts himself in pole position for tomorrow's Eliminator and to take the overall title. But this man, who's the defending champion, he'll have to rip it out of his grasp. He is going to take big points too. He's such a character. He finishes second in the race, and Johnny Brownlee with Schumann trying to get the sprints on, but Brownlee has held him off, and Brownlee will finish third, and that keeps him in good shape as well, with the South African Schumann back in fourth.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Johnny will be really disappointed with that. He'll struggle, he knows it's going to be a struggle going into the next round, what's going on, but what a fantastic race for Christian Blumenfeld. I mean, we talked so much about how they were racing tactical tactically and technically trying to save energy for this race. And out of the three of them, we wouldn't have thought that Christian Blumenfeld was saving the most energy to use it on that run. So he's done really well there, raced well, and obviously he's super fit and ran well, and we've seen it. Good on him. Fantastic racing.
Mario Mola finishing in 5th. Let's hear now from our winner of this race, because Christian Blumenfeld is down the winner.
Well, Christian Blumenfeld, winner of Triple Mix today. Please tell me how you are feeling.
It feels super good. It's like I knew that, especially Murray, he seemed to be really strong on the run, so I wasn't really sure where to gap him, but yeah, super pleased.
I mean, has anything about today's three races been tactical? I mean, it seems like you guys worked so well together, but for yourself personally, is it just a matter of staying there?
I think the fact that we are starting the next race with the gap that we built up on the run before that played a huge in today, because like today we just tried to go hard on the first one and kept it going, so yeah, it worked well together.
Well, do you think the experience of Hamilton Island, you've had a great season this year, has that all come into play in helping you in this sort of environment?
Well, my plan was actually to stay a little bit more calm on the first round, but it's too hard, with so many people around cheering on you, and so yeah, I think I didn't plan to go that hard on the beginning, but yeah, certainly played out well.
Well, it certainly doesn't seem like that's in your nature of racing, so we wish you the quickest recovery and all the best for tomorrow.
Thanks.
Well, he's such a modest guy, Christian Blumenfeld. As we check the results here, his winning margin over Richard Murray, 13 seconds in the end. Similar distance back to Johnny Brownlee, who held off the charging Henry Skimmer, with Mario Mola, the world champ, back in 5th. Matt Hauser, some 50 seconds adrift. You can see how they're strung out. Jake Birtwistle, I mean, who would have thought he would finish a minute plus behind the winner?
Yeah, we would have never predicted that after he looked so good in the first round of this in Hamilton Island. But yeah, we haven't seen an awful lot of great racing from him this year. So maybe, the form he struggled with a little bit. Maybe, who knows, there could be a bit of an injury going on, or again, towards the back end of the year. But yeah.
And you can see there that both Ryan Fisher and Ben Canoe eliminated, both a minute 30 plus behind. So in the end, only 10 finishers, which I don't think anyone would have forecast at the start of the day. Such was the pace of racing in this Super League triathlon. I don't think if you were asked at the start of the day, Alistair, how many do you think would be eliminated? I'd have said maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3. In the end, 14.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone would have predicted that. I'm really interested to see, and it was definitely nothing like that in Hamilton Island. And I think, like we've said before, it's just to do with how aggressive they went out on that first leg. Like Christian Blumenfeld said, he said, my plan was to keep it a bit easy on that first leg, but I got carried away, and all our questions about whether it was technical or kind of tactical racing, I think, have been answered there, because it wasn't. I think that the guys, those three, took it on, and the other guys, they just had to go with it, around it, and they just went for it, which made for really, really great watching.
Okay, let's get down and hear from the defending champion, the man who was second in the triple mix. Richard Murray is downstairs with Vicky.
Hi Richard, so you looked really comfortable today out there, I mean second place, but you were orchestrating the crowd the whole way through that final stage and you looked supremely confident.
Yeah, it was definitely, the plan was to go out really hard because I knew it was a 4K run with a break in between, and I think that was the biggest moment we could get a bit of a gap going. It's the first time I've ever been in a breakaway in my career, so I was like, man, we really have to work hard on this bike, and yeah, geez, it was pretty hard out there, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy.
So you feeling good going into tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely started to feel at the end of the race on the bike, I started to feel, okay, the legs are getting a bit sore here and they're a bit tired, but yeah, definitely I'm feeling good going into tomorrow, and save a little bit in the tank for more tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
No, cheers, thank you very much, and thanks Super League, it's wonderful.
Well, that is the absolute key to it, as he said, keep something in the tank for tomorrow. Interesting that Richard Murray, during his interview, Alistair, was talking about not used to being in a lead pack on the bike. Well, maybe, his swimming has been his Achilles heel, we know, down the years, but if he improved that a little bit, we've seen how well he bikes now, well he runs, you have to think maybe he'd have had more success.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but that is the $1 million question about triathlon as a whole, isn't it? If you improve one discipline, you've got more likely to win overall. But yeah, I think, like you said, he knows that swimming is his weakness. I'm sure he's worked on it very, very hard, and that's shown with probably a little bit of improvement. But it's a hard thing to do. A lot of people talk about swimming and having to do it from a young age, to learn the stroke and the technique and having that ability in the water. And there's not an awful lot of people out there who I've seen who've managed to really transform their swimming ability around. That said, it's not impossible either.
Well, that is your top 10, and they are the only 10 that finished officially, because everyone else was more than 90 seconds behind at some point. 14 different triathletes, and these are the world's best, remember. These are not also Rands, have been eliminated. Blumenfeld wins, maximum points, Murray second, Brownlee third. Mario Mola still gives himself a little bit of a squeak tomorrow, having finished in 5th place overall, and that will get the world champion 14 points. Okay, let's go down and enjoy the podium presentations. We're down there on the podium now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the trophies to the male superstars of Super League Triathlon following today's triple mix race. Presenting the triple mix trophies today is local Jersey junior triathlete Joe Badeau. Presenting the champagne is Senator Lyndon Farnham. In 3rd place for the triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017. Yeah? I've said stuff, but no one can hear me. I've said stuff, but no one can hear me. Start from the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the trophies to the male superstars of Super League Triathlon following today's triple mix race. Presenting the triple mix trophies today is local Jersey triathlete Joe Badeau. Presenting the champagne is Senator Lyndon Farnham. In 3rd place for the triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017, from Great Britain, let's hear it for Jonathan Brownlee. In 2nd place for the male triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017, wearing number 7 from South Africa, Richard Murray. And today's winner at the men's triple mix at Super Jersey, let's turn it up for our winner, number 2, Christian Blumenfeld. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our men's podium finishers at Super League Jersey Triple Mix.
Well, it's not just up close and personal with the athletes, up close and personal and quite wet with champagne by the look of it, the way they were spraying it around. What are your reflections on that, Alistair? Obviously, Johnny on the podium, but maybe a bit surprised with the way that Blumenfeld in particular really took the race on in the latter stages.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think either of us would have predicted that that Blumenfeld would really be able to push on that last run and get such a significant time gap. I think we thought it would have been close, and we would have thought those 3 guys would be fairly evenly matched. But I think it just shows how much the other stages have taken out of the athletes.
Yeah,
well,
really
apart from Blumenfeld, obviously.
I took it out from the start, from the first swim. I was first out of the water the first swim, and it was full on the whole way around. And I was trying to save as much energy as I could, but it was really hard work. And then I made a mistake in my second transition at the end, and that cost me the race. But these two are incredible. They ran really fast that last run. But yeah, I'm really tired, and I've got to do it all again tomorrow.
Do you think that these two having raced in Hamilton Island played a little bit of an advantage, or you just think that you're all going out there going as hard as you could?
Maybe a little bit of advantage. I was a bit confused at the time what was next. I'd pick my hat, my goggles up and things like that. But I had the advantage of having a home crowd, so that's a big advantage. And it's great to see lots of Jersey people come out and support me. So thank you, and yeah, let's bring on tomorrow.
Well, Richard, we saw you excel in Hamilton Island today. Talk about the race.
Yeah, it was definitely looked at it beforehand, and I realised it was a 4-kilometre run, kind of on the trot, and I decided that was the moment to try and go for it today. And luckily, I had obviously these two men next to me come with, and it was definitely a really hard day. It's my first breakaway ever, and the crowd was amazing. And it's very hard to be in a breakaway. So kudos to the guys that do it every race.
I mean, the three of you certainly seemed to play a tactical game out there once you got that advantage. Was that something you really kept thinking about, or was it a matter of conserving until, the final run?
Yeah, well, I definitely thought, oh no, now we actually have to keep going at this one. So I only realised that only after the first one. I thought, wow, this is going to be pretty hard today. But it was great fun. The guys worked really well, and Blumenfeld managed to get the better of me today. But great from the two guys and from the supporters and everyone that came out. Cheers, and thanks to Super League for making it happen.
Well, our winner, Christian, I mean, you've got the two amazing athletes by your side, but you managed to get over the top of them today. I mean, that must be an amazing feeling in itself.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be in a breakaway with like Brownlee and Murray. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
You've often said that, you don't often race the smartest. You just go out there and it is a little detrimental at times, but today it certainly seemed to have paid off.
Yeah, I think I had to pay hard for that at Hamilton Island. So, luckily played a little bit different here today. So, I'm happy.
Well, we wish you all a very speedy recovery, and we're looking forward to seeing you doing it all again tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really popular, Christian Blumenfeld, and he goes in tomorrow with maximum points, of course, but Richard Murray hot on his heels, and Johnny Brownlee will come in third overall. Well, the 25 guys have had, at least they had some experience of what they were going to be in for today, because they raced on Hamilton Island. But coming up next, 25 of the best women in the world, and the first time they will ever have competed at this format. You do not want to miss it. Coming up shortly.
Up here in the studio, Macca and I feel like we've been through, I don't know what we've been through. It was quite an emotional thing, wasn't it? To watch Christian Blumenfeld after 3 second places in a row in WTS, and you know how much he hated finishing second in that Rotterdam race last weekend, to finally do it, and to do it in front of two guys who were so accomplished. What a huge moment.
And you saw how important that first race was. He was very, very aggressive. He got a great start in the swim. Brownlee set that up with a great, leading out that first swim, but that first race set it up for him. On that last run leg, I thought he was going to turn himself inside out. He looked remarkable, hung on. I actually picked Richard to run over the top of him. It didn't happen.
Well, it certainly looked that way. He looked like he was comfortable there, but then Christian Blumenfeld found, 9th gear or maybe 10th gear and managed to run away from him. And the other thing that really stood out, and obviously we've talked about it a lot, is the stretch between the athletes, which was huge. We only had 10 people finish that race. It was a 60-second rule back in Hamilton Island. We made it 90 seconds. We probably could have made it 3 minutes if we wanted to lose one or two. And it started all the way back in the first stage when people started slipping coming out of the water, and it just started to create these gaps. I mean, after these guys had put everything into this swim, you saw Jake Birtwistle there have a big slip. We see Christian Blumenfeld have a slip later on. These guys were having trouble getting up there, and that's when the stretch began.
Well, Christian Blumenfeld, with his poor swim here, you watched him in race one set up that whole race for him in the entire day by being very, very aggressive on that bike course.
Also, there was some trouble coming off the bike as well. A few guys had a few problems. Johnny Brownlee had a terrible transition. Andreas Schilling had a tough transition as well, and we see that right here because these guys have got huge lactic coming in, and this is not usually the way they do things. And they get the wobbles.
Yeah, well,
just like us.
Yeah, well, the takeaway is little gaps matter, and they extend very much so. Henry Schumann, a real star of today's race, I thought.
Let's talk about the guys that are eliminated, because there are 14 of them. They've got to back it up tomorrow in the Eliminator, which is designed to hurt people as well. But it's hard to back up. And a guy like Ben Shaw, who had a tough time in Hamilton Island, was the first to go.
Well, the takeaway, you wonder if the guys who were eliminated today are going to be a lot fresher for tomorrow's race. Those boys up front were very, very hard. Benny Shaw, we saw in Hamilton Island. I'm keen to talk to him tonight to see what his tactics are for tomorrow, because the Eliminator is a special event.
I'm not keen to talk to him at all. I think I'll give him a wide berth.
I think anyone who knows Ben Shaw, he wears his passion on his sleeve, and he's going to be really bummed with himself.
It's been great racing. Congratulations on coming together with this one, because we saw obviously Ali Brownlee talking about how good it was. Well done.
Thank you very much. I guess we're all surprised by the results. Can't wait for tomorrow.
All right, there is plenty to come. We're going to have the women's race. That's in about an hour's time. And tomorrow we're going to see the men and the women once again. It's been huge. Triple Mix, first of 4 races. We'll be back very, very soon.